I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Ha-Rakah Kodash. Double honors unto our apostle elders, which rule great millstone well, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, Wa Abba Babal. All right, so I'm bringing this out for edification with what's going on with Iran in the biblical prophecy. All right, Iran is one of the nations that team up with Russia to destroy America. All right, and it's happening in our lifetimes, which Iran just declared war, a full-scale war with America. All right, and it says the Carmanians are a fierce, warlike people from the ancient Persian province of Carmania, modern-day Kerman, Iran, mentioned only in the Apocrypha 2nd Esdras 15 verse 30 as instruments of divine wrath, described as raging like wild boars and joining battle with dragons of Arabia, symbolizing destructive forces in end times prophecy. So let's go ahead and I'll pull up the declaration of war that Iran just declared. Declared war. It says Iran 20 hours ago. Iran's president declares his country is at war with U.S. and Europe, which America's ally is Europe, the European Union, which is the beast. They have NATO, and eventually these countries of NATO are going to attack the whole America with the Carmanians, Iran, and the Medes, which are the Russians. So you got the Medes and the Russians. The Medes, which are the Russians, the Persians, which are the Iranians, and they're going to fight the Edomites, which were the Greeks and the Romans. All right. So once again, Iran declares total war, which eventually America is going to lose World War III, according to the sure word of prophecy that we have in the Holy Scriptures, which speaks of the signs of Yahweh's Son, Yahweh Shai, returning, and this is one of them, against U.S., Israel, and Europe. All right? So the point has been made. Let me go to the Scripture now. It says in 2nd Esdras 15, verse 28, Behold, an horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east, which they're in the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, and that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. And that's how they would come, even to the land of Israel, right? They would come from the east, all right? It says, also the Carmanians, which are the Iranians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars. And wild boars are like wild, dangerous animals. They have these tusks in their mouths, and they'll freaking cut your leg, cut you wide open, and you'll die, you'll bleed out. It says, of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, which that they do surprise attacks. Those boars, you won't see them, and they'll just run out of a bush or out, from a hiding spot and just gouge you, and you'll bleed out on the field. It says, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. The Assyrians represent the American Babylonians, which is speaking about Babylon the Great, for this is an end-time prophecy. All right, and then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature, And if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them, then these shall be troubled, bled, and kept silence through their power, and shall flee. And from the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them, and consume some of them, and in their hosts shall be fear and dread and strife among their kings, which eventually is going to lead to them going into that land which is known as Israel. There's a valley in there known as the Valley of Slaughter, and it's from pretty much Turkey to Yemen. And there are all these countries, military is going to be gathered in that place. All right, and they're going to be turned into dust and smoke. You could read that in 2nd Esdras 13 when Yahweh Shai returns. All right, these nations are being gathered for war. All right, and drawn into that land, the Holy Land. All right, which was given to Israel, and they're going to perish there by chariot fire. So-called UFOs are going to burn them up. All right, so you understand. But they're the chariots of heaven. All right, and they're coming to save the Israelite. Yahweh Shai is leading the way, and the host of heaven come with him. All right, there's angels that control these chariots, and they fulfill the will of Yahweh, which gave us his word, the Holy Scripture, and it speaks of his son, Yahweh Shai, which he's coming back to judge the world. And he's judging it in righteousness, and these heathen, they've been conducting themselves very wickedly against the Israelite. All right, it says, and consume some of them, and in their host shall be fear and dread and strife among their kings. Behold, clouds from the east and from the north unto the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm. All right, and it's pretty much going to be a war, all right, in that land. And the soldiers that are gathered in that land, they're going to be turned to dust and smoke. It says, they shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth, which they're going to shoot nuclear missiles on America, even their own star, and their own star being the Edomite, which is Lucifer, and blood shall be found. And blood shall be from the sword unto the valley. So it's going to be like a lake of fire, of blood. That's how many people are going to die. And dung of men unto camel's hoof. All right, so they're going to be just everywhere, bodies everywhere. All right. It says, and there shall be great fearfulness and trembling upon earth, and they that see the wrath shall be afraid, and trembling shall come upon them. All right, now I'm going to jump up, because before that happens, all right, there's even going to be greater, and I'm saying not greater, because the World War III is going to be the greatest judgment, because America is going to lose and become a lake of fire by nuclear missiles. All right, but before this, you're going to have many plagues, all right, which are already happening. All right, fires, these floodings, the heavy snow, spirits of vengeance, all these are plagues, signs in the heavens, signs in the earth, the volcanoes, the earthquakes. All right, and it says in 2nd Esdras 15, verse 1, behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which we've been prophesying of a World War III, which the Holy Scriptures speak of World War III. All right, it's been held back for the elect's sake, so that they could be sealed, hear this truth, and believe on Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai, and be saved. All right, Revelation 9 and verse 12, it says, one woe is past, which is World War I, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter. which this is World War III, right? Why didn't they name it World War V or 6 or 7? Because it's not man that controls anything. All right, there's a higher power, and his name is Yahweh, and he's going to send his son, Yahweh Shai, from heaven to judge the world. And this is when that third woe, World War III, is going to pretty much finish, and it's going to end with America being a lake of fire and all these militaries that are gathered in the Holy Land being burnt up. It says, and the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar, which is before Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, saying to the sixth angel which had the trumpet, loose the four angels, which there's angels in the spirit realm holding these men back from destroying America, which are bound in the great river Euphrates, which we also know that the rivers of the Euphrates River is drying up so that these militaries from the east could come into that promised land, which was promised to the Israelites. All right, and they're going to fight the Edomites in that land. All right, because that's who's in that land. They're counterfeits. All right, you have a mix of nations, the Arabs, all right, and they're going to turn and go against the so-called white race, the red devil, and he's going to pretty much fight against each other in that land, because World War I was an Edomite war, World War II was an Edomite war, and World War III is these Edomites fighting for power, America and Russia. All right, it says, and the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, which there's men, kings in that land, which are going to be moved by spirits to set off those nuclear missiles. All right, it says, and a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the third part of men, which the kingdom of the wicked is going to be destroyed. America, all right, it's going to be turned into a lake of fire. And the number of the army of those of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them, which is 200 million nuclear warheads that are going to devour America. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates, which these missiles have armor so that they could travel intercontinental ballistic missiles, right? Because that's what they're carrying inside that armor is nuclear warheads. So they got to be able to go through the atmosphere and then come down on its target, which then it opens up, and those missiles look like teeth in the mouth of a lion, and they're going to individually be guided to its target. It says, having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, which in the mouth of the lion are many teeth, and out of their mouths issued fire, which are those nuclear missiles, and smoke and brimstone. And that's what's going to happen to America. America is going to become a desert of brimstone, and it's going to burn for a very long time, and it's going to smoke for a very long time. All right. Now I'm going to jump back to the 2nd Esdras 15, and it says in verse 1, behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true, which that prophecy came to pass. We got the Bible, right? It's written in book form. We got it on the phone. Knowledge shall be increased. We're at the last days. Fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness, which we have our own people, the reprobates of our own people that want to put us to death for this testimony, but also even the heathen that plot against us. All right, we don't have to fear their vain imaginations, because we have a higher power working through us on earth. All right, which the same power is working through them, but they're not the greatest. All right, they're proud and they're about to be humbled. It says, "Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, the most proud heathen, which is the Edomite, the so-called white race, the red devil, which actually was given the invention of nuclear power, which they exercised on Japan with the atomic bomb." It says, "Famine, death, and destruction is what this devil, the so-called white man, brings with that great sword that he was given." Right? He's literally sold this sword to the world. All right, so the world now has nuclear power. Right? All these different nations that were afraid of America and NATO, all right, now are equal to them because they have that nuclear power that came out of America. It says, verse 6, "For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled, which they corrupted the world with their wickedness." All right, it says, "Therefore saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit," which they have false doctrines like Christianity, a democracy, and they use it to keep the world in a wicked state. It says, "Neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves," which they're weapons of mass destruction, the so-called white race. This is why they produced the nuclear missile, and then they sold it to everybody. "Behold, the innocent and the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me," the Israelites, starting with the elect, "and the souls of the just complain continually," which we put up these videos nonstop. "And therefore, saith the Lord, I will surely avenge them, and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. Behold, my people, the Israelite, the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian, is led as a flock to the slaughter," which, watch the movie One Battle After Another. It shows you this immigration thing going on is really a race war. It's a race war. "I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt." So the Lord's going to take us out of this land. And when he pulls us out of this land up into the chariot by his angels, that's when America is going to come under fire, all right, by these other nations shooting nuclear missiles upon it. That's why he's going to have to take us out of this land to save us from that second death, which is going to be America as a lake of nuclear fire, all right? "But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm," which he's going to send Yahushua with the angels from heaven, "and smite Egypt with plagues." And it's already started, but the final plague of Egypt, which is talking about America, look at the back of your dollar, look at the monuments at its capitals. It's spiritual Egypt with plagues. Those plagues have already begun. And the final plague is that nuclear destruction. As before, which you're going to see plagues that were done in the past to ancient Egypt, but also even more because you're going to suffer the nuclear destruction. "And will destroy all the land thereof," the nuclear destruction. America is going to be a desert, a brimstone that smokes for a very long time after it burns for a very long time. Egypt was never that. All right. It says, let's see, let's jump down. It says in verse 14, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh." So this is a sign of the so-called white man and his wicked society coming to an end. "And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands." You got war in America. You got war in the world that America is going to actually try to fight the world. All right. It says, and who's going to draw it out is these small hats. They got these small hats working in T groups, and it's going to bring forth that World War III. All right. Remember what they just did in Sydney, Australia. They said that was a small hat group that did that so that they could use the media as a smokescreen for bringing draconian law, all right, to the world, all right, for this so-called anti-Semitic message, which really it's just the truth that these people are the devil, all right. Salakia. It says, verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Which in the streets of America, it's about to get crazy, all right? That's why you got all these people, asking Alexa about Christmas 2026, and Alexa is telling you that there ain't going to be no Christmas of 2026 because this country can't continue the way it is, all right? People are poor. People are all fucked up, right? And there's going to be war, lack of bread, right? No work. It's going to be crazy out here. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able because there'll be martial law. The borders will, you'll have military bases on the borders. It says, for because of their pride, the pride of the so-called white man, the red devil, the Bible speaks of, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Because you're going to have these foreign troops that don't speak English going inside your house, beating the shit out of you with the butt of the gun, taking your wife, having their way with her, and then eating your children. It says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Read Isaiah 13 and Zechariah 14. It'll tell you what's going to happen in these houses. All right? They're going to have their way with your women. They're going to do whatever the fuck they want. They're going to destroy your house. All right? It's going to be a war zone in America. All right? Before nuclear war. It's going to be crazy out here. It says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods. Right? You got these people that prep up this food and all that shit. It says, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. All right? So you're going to have people that break into houses looking for food and end up being ate or eating the other people that live there. All right? You're going to have great tribulation, war. So that, you've seen these movies where they stumble into a house and get involved in a crazy situation. That's how it's going to be, because it's going to be a war zone. All right. It's going to be like no other time ever on earth. And especially in America, it's never seen this kind of warfare in its entire existence. It says, behold, saith our power, Yahweh, through the Son Yahweh Shai, I will call together all the kings of the earth, which we just heard, Iran, right? The kings, the Persian king, say what? We're at full-scale war with America, the great whore, which they call Great Satan or Big Satan, and with Little Satan, right? Which the European Union is the beast with NATO, which the whore rides, America rides this beast. It controls the world, all right, with that beast. It says, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me, which are from the rising of the sun. But you heard Putin, I shared the video. You can look it up. Putin talking about they're at war with Satanism, right? They said America's a hub of Satanism that's corrupting the world. It says, which are from the rising of the sun, the east, from the south, from the east, and Libanus, Africa, right? You got war on all levels. You got war in the Middle East, you got war in Africa, you got war in South America, right? Soon your allies, Europe, is going to turn their back. It's going to be too much for them, and they're going to go with the BRICS. Oh yeah, you got war in Asia, right? So the European Union is going to abandon America and join BRICS, and they're going to shoot nuclear missiles with these other nations on its former ally, which is America. All right, literally, nuclear missiles are going to come in from every direction. It says to turn themselves one against another. Right, first they were allied, and then they're going to split up, and it's already happening. Look at Brexit. It says, and repay the things that they have done to them. See, it's going to be a payback for what you've led them into. They're going to punish you with those nuclear missiles, but it's really the Lord doing it through them. All right? It says, like as they do yet this day unto my chosen, so will I also, and recompense in their bosom, thus saith the Lord Yahweh. All right? So he's gonna pretty much turn you into a lake of fire, and then eventually dust and smoke. All right, a desert of brimstone, and that's the prophecy. It says, "My right hand, which is Yahweh Shai, and he in his hand, he has the elect of Israel." It says, "My right hand shall not spare the sinners." Excuse me. My right hand shall not spare the sinners, which talking about the Israelites that don't believe in Yahweh Shai here in America. And my sword shall not cease over them that shed innocent blood upon the earth. The fire is gone forth from his wrath, starting with the prophets. We're telling you about it, and soon it's going to happen because it's a sure word of prophecy. Man doesn't control the earth. In fact, the name of the earth is Aratazah. So it means men doing the will of the Lord, right? So you see these men going to war with this whore, and it's all according to the prophecy, all right? It's not man that controls anything. It's Yahweh through his son Yahweh Shai, and hath consumed the foundations of the earth. The history, the ancient leaders that started these different nations, they're here, all right? Even America's forefathers, they're here in the reincarnation, and they're here to get destroyed, all right? They're going to receive great judgment, all right? And the ones that are alive in these bunkers and in these mountains of rocks, right, which they're not going to survive if they're in America. They're only going to survive outside of America, all right? And only a few are going to survive. And those heathens that are in that bunker or in that cave, and they survived the nuclear destruction of Babylon and the destruction that's going to take place in that promised land, the earth is going to shake, a great earthquake. And when they that survive that, those heathens, they're going to go right into slavery under the Israelites. All right, and we're going to breed the heathen back, and they're going to be in hard slavery under the Israelite. And the Israelites is going to show no mercy because they showed us no mercy. All these heathen, they're not fighting for us. They're fighting to try to destroy us, right? They want to devour us. They want to have us in slavery. They're not fighting to free us or to give us the truth, right? They didn't come out and give us the truth, right? Like Russia, they might have showed an image of a dark-skinned Messiah, but they never said that it was the Israelites that are in the land of America that are being oppressed. All right? They've never told us the truth. So they're going to receive no mercy. They're going to be enslaved under us for 1,000 years, and they're going to be re-educated. After that 1,000 years, the Edomite, the so-called white race, according to biblical prophecy, Isaiah 14 and 21, they're going to be made extinct. All right. it says, once again, verse 22, my right hand shall not spare the sinners. So those 2/3 that don't believe in Yahweh's son, Yahweh's Shai here in America, you're going to die in that lake of fire. You're going to accept the implantable microchip, being deceived, and be destroyed with these heathen. And my sword shall not cease over them that shed innocent blood upon the earth, which Esau was the sword on earth, which he was given the great sword. And he's given the world that great sword, and it's going to fall upon his own head. The fire is gone forth from his wrath, and hath consumed the foundations of the earth, and the sinners like the straw that is kindled, because it's going to be a lake of fire. Woe to them that sin and keep not my commandments, these reprobates, saith the Lord. I will not spare them. Go your way, ye sons, from the power, defile not my sanctuary. So there's 2/3 of the nation of Israel that's going to die in America because they are not right. They're either in false doctrines, they are teaching false doctrines, or they're doing something wrong that the Lord is not pleased with them. And it's really all programmed this way. It's predestined. It says, for the Lord knoweth all them that sin against him, and therefore delivereth he them unto death and destruction. Oh yeah, a lot of idol worship, right? You got Jake. They're praying to statues and shit like that. So they're all ordained for destruction. All right, it says, for now are the plagues come upon the whole earth, and ye shall remain in them. So what you see now, it's only going to get worse. All right, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. And for the heathen, all right, it ain't going to be good for you for a long time. But you're eventually going to rejoice being under the righteous after 1,000 years of merciless slavery. All right, because you have to pay us back for what you've done unto us. It says, for our power shall not deliver you, because ye have sinned against him, these 2/3. All right, because salvation is only for the Israelite, but the 2/3, they reject the salvation. Right? We telling them about Yahweh and his son Yahweh Shai and the prophecies we've been given, which they have in the Holy Scriptures, but they've been corrupted by this world. They believe in the so-called white man's lies, all right, and they love the wickedness of this world. So they're going to be destroyed in that horrible vision that Esdras had of the last days of the Edomite race and them being in power and reigning terror on earth, right? Which they're going to suffer great terror because that's what they did. They terrorized the earth, all right? But with that, I give all praise and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem HaRikakudash, double honors unto our apostle elders, which rule great millstone well, and shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel, Wa Abba Babal.